This episode of Shadiversity is brought to you by the Swords shirt. Available in multiple colours and variant designs, the Swords shirt proclaims the truth that every sword enthusiast knows down to their core, that swords are awesome. Why? Because swords. That's why. Available through Teespring, link in the description.
Shadiversity.
Greetings, I'm Shad, and before we begin, I want to give a shout out to a wonderful YouTube channel, Nerdarchy, like monarchy, but for nerds, Nerdarchy. Great YouTube channel, just huge amounts of role-playing game content, okay? Huge amounts of Dungeons and Dragons and everything else, really. And they upload very regularly, and like in the more recent videos that they've been putting up, their quality has just jumped up a really great level. So they come with my full recommendation. Please go check them out. Awesome YouTube channel. Now let's get into the subject of this video. Character levels in role-playing games. I have been able to enjoy the leveling system, really, that exists in every single role-playing game because it creates a sense of progression, advancement. Having said that though, even though I can enjoy them, I have come to the opinion and conclusion that I think if a role-playing game is done right, okay, it will be better and more enjoyable with character levels non-existent. Throw them out the window. So ultimately, I don't really like character levels in role-playing games. Not anymore. It's not to say, like I just mentioned, that I can't enjoy a leveling up system. I still can. You see, when you look at a role-playing game, like step back and try and analyze it in a broad sense, you find, or I have found, levels end up being very redundant, okay? Because in terms of gaining the sense of progression and advancement, that can be achieved without levels. It can be achieved through achievements, missions that you have succeeded in, items, objects that you gain and, you know, become like more rich, and you have more magic weapons at your disposal. You can still learn new magic spells without the need of a leveling system, and as well you can still advance in skills and such, again without the need of levels. As soon as you put levels in, it brings a whole world of problems and issues that I feel have been bogging down the role-playing game genre for years. The first thing to note is that generally monsters are always gauged to the strength of the characters, which makes levels pointless. Think about it. That means the same difficulty level will exist for you playing no matter what level you are. So if you were just at the same level and had monsters at that, you know, difficulty level, well then you achieve the same thing. You've lost nothing in that sense, but then you can come across more powerful monsters and have a true challenge. And you can't just say, well, I'll come back when I've leveled up a couple of hundred times and then kill him without even breaking a sweat. It takes away the point of tactics and stuff like that, because you just walk in, haha, you can't, I have 20,000 hit points, I don't care how much you hit me now, I'll kill you and you're dead. You've done nothing to truly vanquish that opponent that was so difficult in the past, apart from grinding. No tactics used, no creativity, and that's not how it would work in the real world if you were to transfer these fantasy things and make them as real as possible. Now, yes, there's a whole debate of it's fantasy, it doesn't need realism. I've made videos covering that, of course. Of course you want it to be realistic. It's immersion, you want it to be enjoyable. And so, because you have fantasy elements, that makes it more necessary to have the other parts to be as realistic as possible, to bring, you know, the people into this world. So in summary to that point, the fact that most encounters and monsters in video games and tabletop pen and paper role-playing games are usually scaled to the strength of the players, it's the same difficulty whether they were level 5 or level 20. The next thing, levels establish the need for grinding, and I hate grinding. It's not creative, it's boring, you're just doing the same thing over and over. I'll kill a monster, and kill another monster, and kill another monster. So stupid. Now, in terms of how this makes the world unrealistic, by the end of the day, you've probably killed, 200,000 goblins just for grinding, especially in MMOs and stuff like that. That's the equivalent of a whole army, greater than a whole army. Now, yes, it would take a while to get up to 200,000 monsters slain, But seriously, in many games, you have to do that. Grinding also artificially lengthens the playtime of a game, which is cheating, okay? It's because the developers didn't have enough creativity to put plot and story and interesting encounters in, so they just fill it up with crappy grind. What is far more fun, okay, is having a really tough monster that you have to work to try and defeat, okay? Not just running through a few thousand little minions also, what annoys me is if you are swamped by, 10 monsters or even, other enemies, bandits, whatever, and they are of at least a moderate level of competency, you're basically screwed in real life, okay? I don't care if you have 400 hit points, you're dead. Also on that note, okay, the thing that leveling up gives you, the ridiculous level of hit points, to the point where you're basically invincible. It's so stupid, think about it. I don't care if you got 200 hit points, a dagger to a person's neck would kill them, alright? In history, there was never ever a warrior so great that he was invulnerable to a dagger to the neck. And this has really annoyed me, because in so many games you come across the Lord Raw, the ultimate bad guy of whatever fantasy setting, and as a player I'm thinking, really, there should be so many ways we should be able to kill this guy. He shouldn't be invincible. If I could sneak into his bed chambers at night and he's asleep, I should be able to kill him. Luckily, in some role-playing games there are provisions for insta-killing. Not all of them, in fact most of them, and especially for, video games and stuff like that, nah, not at all. Now, you might say, well, that's kind of the point, because you want the players to get to that level of strength so they don't have to worry about dying, because when you play for a character so long, you've achieved so many things, it would be a tragedy to see him die. Well, then it really takes away any suspense of the game if that's the case. To make a role-playing game really fun, and I've experienced this, I'm speaking from what I have done, okay, instilling into the players' minds the possibility that their characters could die in any encounter makes every encounter epic and serious and important. I like to force my players to approach their role-playing as if it was real, because that draws them in, it sucks them in. And so when they see a group of bad guys, they will suddenly check, question themselves, is this a good idea if I just run into the middle of them by myself? Because generally, that would get you killed. Now, funny, there are some circumstances where you could get away with it if they use tactics, okay? And that's the result. By taking away this invincibility, hit point, leveling up system, okay, from a game, it creates a more serious approach to gameplay and fighting and combat. And in many cases, it comes to a point where the players rightly need to say, it's time to run. Where they have engaged a monster which is so big and so strong, not by virtue of hit points or levelings, but by virtue of its size and strength, that, yeah, it's time to run and figure out a better strategy to kill this thing, and it creates such a fun game, okay? I've had entire roleplay sessions where the entire game was just trying to defeat one monster. And it's a bit like Dark Souls. The more difficult that you make the encounters, the greater satisfaction and payoff when you succeed. The next unrealistic thing that a leveling up system creates is that it makes monster dispersion very unrealistic. Video games are the greater culprit in this, because I know for myself in my own role-playing games, I make the map and say there's a really strong dragon there, and I don't care if the players waltz in and they're level 5 or were level 5 or whatever. It's still going to be a massive dragon and they'll probably die, which means they have to try and figure out, alright, what's a safe place to go and what's not. If someone says, don't go that way because there's lots of monsters there and you'll die, that actually makes them, listen to those statements. And it's just so stupid that like in video games, like I said, you see this more often. You start an area and all the monsters are leveled to your level perfectly. When you go to the next level, oh look at that, they've just increased enough strength to that exact same level of the level of strength that I'm at. And it continues on through the whole game, and it comes into that problem where I mentioned before, that the difficulty level remains the same, and so this leveling up thing becomes an artificial construct, because really, you're fighting the same difficulty monsters for the whole game. And it's stupid that all the monsters in this one area are of a certain strength. Surely there would be a couple of, be multiple levels of different strength monsters if there are different types of monsters in an area. Another thing that leveling up ruins in role-playing games is that it creates a wall to the best and most engaging stuff in the game. You've heard of endgame content in MMORPGs and stuff like that. Like, why hold that back between hours upon hours of grinding before you reach the level cap, and then you can engage in the really fun stuff? I have given up on so many video games because of that. This also applies in pen and paper role-playing games. I know you will never find the best, enchanted gear until you're of that appropriate level. That sucks. Funny thing, right? A lower level character would have more precedent and need to get the more powerful magic items just so they can compete with the more powerful monsters and characters than the higher level characters really need them. Special items and equipment should be given as a reward for not the level of monster, because really if you're a high enough level, you can make that encounter pittance easy for you. What makes it far better? You take away the leveling system, okay? And you give points to characters to, make their character however much they want, and they can't max everything, so they have to either be balanced or specialized, and also allowing them to progress in certain skills based on playstyle, and then having it, that's it, okay? And making encounters that are either weak, strong, or whatever, and then when you have an encounter or a dungeon or whatever, that's particularly hard for all the characters in the game, not just certain levels, but all the characters, that means the rewards you can put in that dungeon are rightly earned by whoever completes it. Levels also reduce skill curve in games. You need less skill to play the game when you're a higher level than you do when you're a lower level, because when you're in a lower level, you might actually step outside the designated area that have these monsters appropriate to your strength level or whatever. So you might go out of area and find more difficult monsters, and that will require you to play smarter, play more tactical. But if you're the max level and have the max gear, you don't even need to try anymore. You just walk wherever you want, kill them, yeah, whatever, I've got so much hit points, I can do so much damage, I can just kill anyone I want. There's no skill in that at all. Like, saying someone who is a level whatever, the max level, is a good player. No, it actually kind of means that they're a worse player. Oh, but I had to work to get to this level. What, by grinding? You think grinding takes skill? Another result of that is that when you start a game at level 1, for me, I don't feel like I'm a true part of this world, or a significant part that I could do anything of particular. Like, it's funny, Neverwinter Online, the MMORPG, Dungeons and Dragons based, okay? When I first started it, they generally changed the beginning missions or anything, but when I first started, you're fighting off the invasion of the city, and I can't remember it perfectly, but there's enough examples of this, like for instance Champions Online, it's old now, superhero MMORPG. Beginning mission, you fight off the monsters that are attacking, funny, they're both attacking cities. Are we seeing a pattern here? But after you do this beginning mission, you're hailed as this wonderful, great warrior, and that you save the city, but you're level 1. Like, you're weak as anything, and they're saying, you save the city, and so this concept of leveling is destroying the, setting that they're trying to create, that you've done something significant, when in reality, no, you haven't. You're fighting the weakest monsters that you'll face in this entire game. You haven't achieved spit. You're not a true hero, okay? You're not going to be a true hero or a valid, important part of this world until you grind your days out and become a strong warrior. That sucks, okay? When you start a game, you want to enjoy it to its full. Engage in the best stuff that is in the game, and that will encourage you to stay and play more. And then it gives you more choices, okay? Possibilities. In a setting where levels don't exist, okay? You start, and you could choose to do anything. You could try and achieve the same thing that a player is doing, at that point, who has been playing for 5 years. Just, that looks fun, I'll give it a go as well. Now, of course, if the game is skill-based, you'll probably have difficulty, but it's still possible, okay? And that makes it fun. When I start a role-playing game, like pen and paper, depending on the goals of my character, I want to feel that I could try and work towards those goals straight away. If it was to kill the evil ruler or king who, wiped out my home village or whatever, I want to think that it might even be possible to kill that king and get my revenge in the first play session. Generally, you won't. A good DM will try and make difficulties, so you still have to work to achieve it. That's the key, working to achieve it. Not grinding, but obstacles, overcoming obstacles to get there. But I'd like to think if I could think up something particularly creative and inventive to kill the king, that I could pull it off. That there's no artificial barriers or walls preventing me from doing something clever. And these are the advantages of not having levels in a role-playing game. And I think it makes a far more engaging and enjoyable experience. Now, it needs to be made right. There's a lot of ways to fail at a game that doesn't have levels as well. One of the dangers is how easy it is for players to die, because if you make all the monsters and everything to a certain level of killability, granted you can have differences, like in a system that me and my brother made that doesn't have levels, Cogent Roleplay, you can download it for free, it's in the description, probably should have mentioned that near the beginning, doesn't have levels. You can advance in certain skills after working at them and stuff like that. But even though there are no levels, I could still put in really tough monsters that were, difficult to kill. And so not all monsters will be at the same level of killability, but for people, yes, a dagger to the neck will generally kill everyone, and the problem is, well, a dagger to any of the players' necks could kill them as well. Yeah, and it's so much better when you, play it, to make it really fun, because no one likes having a character die. But I've had many characters die very often, and you need to learn to accept that. In fact, I think it's actually something that can help you out in life, learning to deal with disappointment, failure, and getting over things. It should be possible for their characters to die, especially if they do stupid things. If a player says, "I'm going to go jump off a cliff," I'm like, "All right, you jump off a cliff, you land and you die." Consequences to actions. If a player does something legitimately stupid, they reap the rewards of their choices, and they have to learn to make better choices. And I really do feel, even though the byproduct of not having a leveling up system in an RPG, the result, the unavoidable byproduct, is that characters are more killable, just as all the NPCs. That creates more suspense and immersion and a more serious approach to role-playing, which makes it far more fun overall. And there you go. Those are my thoughts on leveling up systems in RPGs. I think it's well and truly time to be done away with them. I'm sure that there will be many of you who will disagree with me. I look forward to reading your comments down below. I have just been simply sharing my opinion. And if you do want to try out a free role-playing game system that does not have levels at all, you can go check out Cogent Roleplay, which was developed by myself and my brother. It's available online for free. It's in alpha. It still has a lot of polishing work on to doing, and if myself and my brother get around to it, we will polish it, but it's certainly playable. We've also used this system in all the role-playing sessions that we played on Tabletop Time. Tabletop Time, unfortunately, is on a hiatus. No videos are getting made currently. Doesn't mean we won't continue on in the future, but if you do want to see Cogent, what it's like in action being used, go check out some of the role-playing sessions on Tabletop Time. Thank you for watching, I hope you have enjoyed, and until next time, farewell.